Hey traders, welcome to another edition of the Crypto Lab with Alex, featured by Trading Analysis, which is in the 10th year of its own existence. So we are looking forward for the next 10 years, lots of interesting things, trading analysis, especially on the stock side service, which I'm participating now as well. So not much of happenings this last 2 days. This week in the crypto space, Bitcoin and Ether and a couple of other cryptos are holding good. So we are going to go over the couple of macro charts and look what's going on with the major cryptos. And of course, if you want to post some comments, chart requests, please do that in the comment box. So let's start. I'm gonna start with analysis on the latest target rate probabilities for the next Fed meeting. So we have next Fed meeting on the 1st of February, and you can see here that market is pretty decisive that we're going to see a 25 basis point rate hike. So from the current 4.25 to 450, we are going to go to 450, 475 range. So 0.9%, we're going to go more. So as you can see, market is pretty much biased on one side, 99.1% of probability. So most likely we are going to get there. Fed was announcing a slower pace of the rate increase after the latest 50 basis point move. So this will be the next step of decreasing the increments, which was our basically main thesis in the last couple of months, looking the charts of the 10-year yields. We are coming potentially to very close to a target rate which comes around from 4.75 to 5%. So that target range is, as you can see, planned to be reached on March. So if the Fed is going to move 25 basis points in March, that will definitely depend on the latest CPI data and a couple of other things. But let's say they will. 84.3%, there is a probability currently ascribed for the March meeting that we're going to move another 25 basis points, which will actually be the latest two hikes of a 25 basis points, reaching the target rate between 4.75 and 5%. And actually, in my opinion, we're going to plateau there, which means that the Fed is going to stop raising rates. They're going to keep this 4.75 to 5%, in my opinion, until end of 2023 at least. Only in the case, of course, if we see some God forbid, new pandemic or some crazy event, or CPI falling at a rapid pace below 5% in the next couple of readings. So I think they're going to actually wait for a data for the next couple of months after March and adjust their interest rate policy according to the data dependent narrative. Okay, so we are coming very close to this actually a pole in rates moving on the upside, which is actually slowly seen in the risk assets classes. Market is now awaiting the Q4 earnings. Some of them are okay, some of them are not, but we are still in the beginning of it. Market was pricing some of the recession fears. So the big debate was, are we going to have a soft landing, hard landing? And that debate is still going on in the financial media. So from that, let's jump and see what's going on a 10-year yield. If you are tracking or following the Crypto Lab, our thesis was from some around here that we are going to start to move on the upside in a 5-wave move. We reached 1618 which is a usual target for a potential wave 3. Now we start to consolidate either in a more directional or a more sideways fourth wave development, from where I see only one small push up to this 475 5%, and then I think from the middle of the year, maybe even from let's say April, May, we're gonna start moving lower after this five-way move is complete. Will this move be some type of a larger sideways consolidation, which might be a triangle going back and forth? I don't think that they're gonna actually achieve on a sustainable basis with these new global developments, deglobalizations, and all of the processes that we are seeing now. So they might in one moment come very close to it, but I don't think it is sustainable. So if we get and if we trace some triangle, which will be a pause up to, let's say, 2024 end of and maybe beginning of 2025, I do see potentially one more inflationary move on the upside, up for the next couple of years, but this is really far in time. So after 40 years of deflationary pressures, we have seen after these COVID lows a five-way move on the upside. This was caused by the supply chain disruptions and many other things. And then when we came out of it, of course, the fiscal policy, which was very abundant during COVID, the supply chains, latest developments in the commodity spectrum due to Russia-Ukraine conflict, and also deglobalization already starting in many parts of the world. We are seeing a continuing rise in rates after almost 10-20 years, with the small pickups in 2015-18. With the rates moving up, rates have been basically at zero, especially in Europe, for a longer time. So that created lots of upside in assets and in Bitcoin as well, because why would you keep your money at 0% if you can invest in some other little bit more riskier assets and then have a better yield? So that time, I think it's past. It's going to be a rough time ahead for the risky assets, but in this pause, either being directionally in an ABC down or WXY, depends on the complexity, or a triangulation which will last for some time. I think that risky assets will have time to celebrate or to go on the upside while actually this consolidation lasts. But after, I think we're going to have one more inflationary blow on the upside. So we are approaching that time. It's a couple of charts that we track also, including the Bitcoin and Ether, slowly starts to point out that this might be a well perceived scenario in 2023-24. And also we have a halving cycle. If the liquidity at least stop as regards of rates to be moving on the upside, that might create a little bit more ample liquidity conditions, and that will create also another environment. We will need to add some of regulations, because after the crypto debacles, after a couple of last months with the FTX and many others, crypto space has been purged of the retail, especially retail investors and institutional investors. So we will need to create some sentiment change, which might take time. Okay. So one of the things also that I'm looking as the sentiment is concerned is always when you see some, this is also one of the signs, usually at the end of a couple of cycles. It was very prominent when you look the US dollar in the last 20-30 years. Every time on the peaks you will have some economist or other financial news looking like dollar is a king, and then actually the dollar reverses and hailwire to the downside. So this is something which is very difficult to watch, because it's concerned about society and the social brain. But in general, This will also coincide with the potential lows in cryptos, because negativity has came to its peak with the FTX collapse. And as you can see, what the news are putting out there, this is usually in most of the cases some sign of the potential lows. But to regain that sentiment on the upside, it will take time. So sentiment change is possible, but it's a gradual process. First, we need to come to neutrality, and then we might get another potential switch in sentiment on the upside. So this will be a gradual process. So looking this chart, we have to also look the dollar index. So dollar has been moving lower. As you remember, our target was between 114, 115, even to 118, but my target was specifically close to 114 and something. I was switching back and forth because this is something that I think it's a failed ending diagonal, because you see 3 moves everywhere. So I think basically here we should label a wave 5. So, but it doesn't change the picture. It still depicts a 5-wave move down into dollar index, and I expect soon to see some corrective pullback on the upside, which might be of a bigger or a smaller nature. Usually dollar, when it corrects, it's very sharp. It doesn't have to be the case, but I'm just saying, as I'm looking the dollar index for the last 15-20 years, in that respect, I have seen many times when these corrections was pretty large and pretty drastic, as a retracement, even reaching 0.786, which will be around 110. So we will see when we have a potential wave A and B, we will be able to put some Fibonacci clustering on the C wave, and actually we will see where the dollar index might to where it might correct. But in general, after that, we might see a continuation of a dollar index moving lower. So as you can see on daily chart, RSI is pretty low. That's pretty visible. I look this higher time frame RSIs, weekly and daily. I think they're much more reliable than the lower time frame. So I'm sticking with the RSI on the daily and weekly. Because in my experience, they have shown a lot of credibility. In the as you can see, this highs actually was depicting very nicely these highs here, and a couple of other instances as well. So it's I think very useful to watch this one on daily and weekly. Okay, so if we switch to total crypto market cap, I still holding this wave count. This was some type of a flat, a running flat with a move down in a 5th wave. People ask me why this 5th wave is so short. So one of the answers, it's relatively logical. I mean, if you have almost, let me see how in percentage wise, how big of the fall that was. Let me just take this informational info line so that we can measure. So we have dropped 76.19%. Okay, so when you have this type, and even in previous cycles, when you see this large drops, usually sometimes these wave 5s here, for example, is a wave 5, is not so big because of the largest percentage drop. And even if you go further, you will see the similar things. Okay, so it's quite logical that you, after 75 and almost 80% fall in the Bitcoin and in total crypto market cap, the wave 5 doesn't get to a usual target. And as you can see, we are starting slowly to see developments of the potential 5-wave move here on a total crypto market cap, which will actually mean that after a pullback, we might have either a C wave or a full development in 5th wave on the upside. I'm still holding the view that we are going to see a 5th wave on the upside. Yet I will count this as a 1, 2, 3 flat in 4, and then a move up in 5. But this is left to be seen. On my radar currently, and our members, is this first 5-wave sequence. And we will see after a pullback, which might come as we achieve, I think, 1.16 trillion. We will see some type of an ABC pullback for the further continuation up in a C wave. And then if C wave fails, we will know a little bit more about this uptrend. Okay, so I will not hammer yet that this was the final bottom, so I will wait the 5-wave development, especially these 3 waves down will be important. If we see some measurements and some response from lower levels on the upside, that will be a sign that Bitcoin is and total crypto market cap is moving further on the upside. So let me switch and show you this on the Bitcoin chart. We are now on a smaller time frame moving to a very sizable resistance. So as you can see from this wave 5, which I already explained on the total crypto market cap, because the Bitcoin is the biggest, so these two charts resembles. So we are already at the RSI on daily pretty high, above 70. And I think we are ready for a small correction in a 4th wave. So as you can see from the beginning, we have here an leading diagonal, which sometimes are very sketchy developments. People usually jump to correct anybody who puts these leading diagonals. I don't think there is need for that. Usually the beginnings of these trends in leading diagonals are a very treacherous affair. It's go back and forth. The short sellers still try to push down, the buyer starts to push up, so it's a big messy thing here. So you don't have to, there is a basic rules which you need to find, but as you can see here, wave 3 just for the Elliott Wave connoisseurs is actually equal, or it's a little bit even bigger for a couple of pips from the wave 1, which means that this will actually put this leading diagonal in the nomenclature, as I will say, of an expanding version. Okay, so it's not a contracting version. It will be an expanding version, because then in this expanding version, wave 5 needs to be larger than wave 3 and wave 1. Okay, so let's check that if that is the case. Let's see if the wave 5 it's almost exact, a little bit higher, so that's enough. So don't look for a as we say here, hair in the egg. Okay, this is good enough. So from there we have seen a 5-wave move down, small pullback, and then another 5-wave move down, very small ones. And then we have seen a sharp move on the upside, reaching 200% of projection for the wave 3, and a little bit higher is 0.618, which is the measurement of the intermediary wave development and a projection for the wave 5 potential top. We got there almost, and then we are starting to wiggle here a little bit. I think that the 4th wave is coming in one form or the other, or it's going to be a triangle or something a little bit more on the downside towards 21k, and then we might continue on the upside towards 25, 27 to actually complete this first 5-wave move on the upside. So some of the people in Twitter has contacted me and asked me, can this be a flat? Well, I think everything is possible, but I will say probability is less. Wave 2 here was relatively, I will say, very decent. If you look at it, its structure, it had 5 waves up in A, triangle in B, and 5 waves up in C. So it lasted a portion of time from, let's say, from where? So it started around 24th of January of 2021 and 22, and then March 28th of 22. So we had almost 2 months of that. If we start to measure, this was a June 17 of 2022, and if this is a flat and it's finished around February 18, it's going to be 3-4 times bigger. So if we start to measure this by some of the right look guidelines, it will deviate a bit. I'm not excluding that, but I think it's a much less probability. While the Fed is actually going to stop raising rates, we're going to see inflation going further lower, and I think this will create more risk-on assets run on the upside, at least in an ABC. What I mean in an ABC, I mean that after a 5-wave move, we're going to have a decent pullback. Okay, so we're going to have an ABC pullback, in my opinion, down to 2018K, and then we can continue further on the upside. So let's review Ether. I hope that Bitcoin is clear to everybody who is watching, and of course for the viewers. So Ether, Bitcoin is still going according to our script. I've shown that chart last time. So this is still a bullish chart. So 1, 2, up in 3, a nice pullback in 4 without the wave count validation, and after we have a 5 waves up. This is just a nice ABC correction. We have a little bit more downside, which means for the smaller number of weeks, Ether will be less favored, but then Ether might take off and be a kind of a dominant one for at least a big part of 2023 and maybe beginning of 2024. And of course, as we know, we have a halving cycle in March, I think, of 2024 for a Bitcoin. So this chart functions perfectly so far. So therefore, I'm going to look and I'm going to be on Ether pretty bullish. I have explained that last time. So you can make this a triangle. You can make the case that this is also some type of a correction. But as you know, I like to pair my view with the macro outlook and looking all other markets. Since I'm also working on stocks at Trading Analysis, I have a pretty good insight what is going on S&P, NASDAQ, and some of the sectors. So in general, as the cryptos are behaving in synchronicity still with the stock markets and liquidity, I will still stick to my bullish scenario so far. So Ether has been proved to be relatively stronger than Bitcoin. This wave 4 we labeled already at June 2021 here. Okay, so in this version of the outlook, this will be already wave 1 here, and then we corrected in a WXY in a wave 2, and we started to move on the upside. Our original actually wave count was looking for just a touch lower, but then we started to move on the upside. We have to adjust the wave count here and actually label this the end of the Y wave in the second wave, and now we are starting to move on the upside very impulsively. Okay, so if you go, this is a daily, so as you can see, we are trading above 200 moving average on daily and on weekly, which is not the case for Bitcoin. So Ether is behaving, at least from that perspective, pretty stronger. And then this, I think this will create a confluence of energy which might propel, because in this wave count, Ether is already in a 1-2-1-2, while the Bitcoin is still in the beginning of the wave 1. So this will create also, if you see some of the support and resistance levels, you will see also that lower levels here, we are getting a kind of on the end of this expanding volatility. You can call it a volatility pattern where the energy is kind of summed up and possibly propped to explosion on the upside. Okay, so I'm not calling that a pattern that I'm looking through the Elliott Wave lens. I just have seen many cases when this type of occurrences has been happening before. So when you have something of this, which kind of as you can see by the pattern, and it is the same in psychology, it was a very big kind of a mood to the downside on Ether. Then it became smaller as the time passes, and as it gets smaller and smaller, it will either penetrate very violently on the upside or on the downside. Okay, so this will be an ABC, triangle X, and then we go further lower. Bitcoin goes to, I don't know, 10K, and Ether goes to, let's say, 600. Okay, so I'm not running away from that possibility. I'm just saying, looking all of these factors and all of the wave counts I have, I think that the probability is bigger that we're going to explode on the upside, looking the current environment. And for me, the risk is pretty much defined. Okay, so we at Trading Analysis take very much care of the risk. Except being involving here for a potential wave 5 with the clear resistance levels. This will be resistance, this will be resistance, then you have this line. I don't think that Ether will break this region in the first attempt. I think we're then going to go an ABC like in Bitcoin, and then this area here, while this 200 moving average comes around these levels, and then my stops are defined, my risk is relatively small, and I'm prepared to play this game for a possibility of either having a bad trade with a defined risk, or I will have a nice risk reward looking for this wave 3 development in the third wave, which will be the sharpest on the upside. Okay, so that is how actually do we play this game in Trading Analysis. So okay, so I hope that's clear. So let me just we can look a couple of others. So I'm not bothering much about these things that are happening, like audio and a couple of others. I do look also mana, which some of our members are tracking for a potential 5-way move and ABC pullback. So patterns are relatively clear on couples of them, which we track with our members. Yes, also Polkadot has a nice 5-wave development. Matic, we have been bullish on Matic even in the most bearish case scenario, which is starting to break out on the bullish pattern. Currently, most likely already coming into this 1-2-1-2 version, which might continue further on the upside. So my point of interest will be when this breaks out and makes a smaller correction, and then further continuing on the upside. So this is still, by any standards, a very sideways pattern, but as you know, we are trying to combine some of the macro data and try to be in advance of the market, and with the defined risk, we'll try to play this out, leaning on our evaluation of these conditions. Okay, guys, so I'm ready for your questions and comments. So please let me look what you have written. Schnitzel, Desiaco, Kucho, hi Schnitzel, zdravo Schnitzel, hope you're good. Zeus, hi Alex, Torchain chart please. Can you check out Doge? Doge chart, I don't know, I'm not a big fan. Let me just check the longer term chart. I have the longer term wave count somewhere on Doge. Let me just find it. I have many of these things open now, so apologize for searching for the right, because I have a couple of Dogecoin. We have a longer term wave count. Let me just find it. I think it's here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go on weekly just to show you. So one of the things which was nice about the Dogecoin is that we held this, as you can see, this is a bad print, so we need to get rid of this bar. This is not, a couple of these bars are just bad prints. So I'm going to remove them later. Okay, so we had here something which resembles a 5-wave move. Because of these bad prints, I get this warning. So I'm going to remove them afterwards. And then we have a WXY correction. Third wave was very sharp, as you can see. So now we are trading above this trend line. This is a kind of a channel trend line which usually gives support. Okay, so it's a very interesting finding where when you connect this lower and and higher levels, and you put a trend line there, let me just englare this chart, you will get a very nice support level. So see how nicely this was actually holding here, and see how nicely it's holding here, and potentially here. So we are trading around 200 moving average on a weekly level, as you can see. I do have this projection further on the upside, but I still don't have a confirmation that we are moving impulsively on the upside. Okay, I have a couple of, maybe this is some type of an expanding volatility version of a leading diagonal, and then a pullback, and then we go on the upside. But for now, we don't see that. So I'm gonna sit on this one. I'm not gonna become too optimistic until I see what I want to see. But for now, not very good, or kind of a feeble response, while the others are moving on the upside, at least in this moment. Okay. Hi Oleg, hope you are good. Can you check Mover? Thoughts on Doge? So okay, we just passed Doge. Hey Gia, what's up, man? Alan Martin is saying, I'm either ignorant, please suggest multiple Ether vehicles to take advantage. I don't know what you mean. If you mean about the ETFs, you can use ETH, I think it's this, which is the ETF, Grayscale Ethereum Trust. So this one might be one of the vehicles. Of course, it's lately introduced, so it doesn't have a full completed a kind of impulsive features as the Ether, but we have from these lows 5 waves up. So after a pullback, at least I think we're going to go up to 15, and then if Ether continues, we're going to go further above. I don't know what you mean. Maybe you meant on this type of vehicles. You can also play on the crypto side, on Binance or on Coinbase. So there is a multiple way to play cryptos. Mula FX, we don't do FX anymore. I don't know what you want, Mula, from the FX. Pozdravac iz Kotara, možeš li mi pogledati tetu? A gdje ne mogu, video je moj. Sad ćemo pogledati tetu. Ajmo da vidimo tetu. Što čini teta nama. Okay, so let's see Teta for Montenegrin guy from Qatar. Let's see what the Theta is doing. Yeah, so I didn't do this chart. I don't think this is the whole chart. I think there is a little bit more here, but let's focus on what is going on in the last. So this is a pretty sizable move to the downside, as you can see. As we have seen on a Polkadot and a couple of others, we might be actually in the end of at least this cycle to the downside. This might be an end of this small kind of an ending diagonal. Okay, so we have to kind of move this in here. So 3 waves down, 3 waves up. Again, don't look, guys, for the hair in the air, looking all of these patterns. Okay, so they might be very tricky to interpret. They're usually a very reducing volatility pattern to the direction of a trend, and then you see you have a pretty sizable uprise and reaction of a short covering as a first reaction on the upside. So don't spend much in kind of analyzing these types. It's enough for you to see that they follow the basic rules and they have a 3-wave patterns. Don't dwell into them too much. You can see from afar this is some type of a reducing volatility pattern, and then when they start to move up in a 5 waves, of course you have to be worried if this is not a flat. I don't think it is, looking all of the other cryptos. So let me just look on a smaller time frame. So let's say Theta is developing a 5-wave move on the upside, okay, which means that after a pullback we might continue further up. Okay, so let's try to count Theta, and let's see if we do have some type of a 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so we can kind of see that there is no overlaps. There is still a kind of a corrections which are pretty nicely subdivided. Okay, so we have some type again of a small leading diagonal here because we have an overlap in a wave 4. Okay, and then we have a nice subdivisional 5-wave move here without any overlaps. As you can see, we don't have any, which means that this is a wave 3. So you need to have a clarity to count 5 waves up in a wave 3, and then you can go even further and you can even try to count a 5 waves up in the wave 3 of 3, which is I'm just going to change the color so this doesn't confuse you. Okay, so you can count 1, 2 up in 3, 4 and 5. So also there is a 5 waves up here, which kind of confirms that this is an impulsive development. Okay, so in this scenario, when you have these impulsive developments after a 5-wave move, so we might be some type of a still 4th wave. I don't think that 4th wave is done, so maybe this might be go into a triangle and kind of sets up a little bit of a sideways pattern, kind of balancing this move on the upside, and then we're going to go higher. So I will be interested in theta, just moving in an ABC pullback. So some around after this pullback, I think we're going to get at least one more move on the upside of the same magnitude. Okay, so let's keep it there. Nadam se, Vojo, da je ovo bilo ok. Video je, izvini. Let me just look others. Toton Ethereum Classic. I don't really track that one. Ethereum Classic. Yeah, this was done who knows when. Obviously, an unsuccessful analysis. So yeah, so let me look just this last sequence. So obviously we have some type of a 5-wave move, okay, on the upside. So this is only what I'm going to say, starting from here, 1, 2, up in 3, 4 and 5, and this is some type of a consolidation. So I will wait that this consolidates and then maybe a small pullback. Okay, so obviously we have some type of a nice potential. Maybe this is an ABC, maybe this is a 5, 3 waves up, 3 waves up. So ABC, ABC, maybe a flat or a triangle. So just in a small pause. Okay, so I will wait for some type of a pullback or look what's going on there. I'm not a fan of this one. The pattern in general from the higher time frames looks pretty, I don't know, I'm not a fan of, looks like a more a 3-wave move. I don't see here anything of a 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, but that will be too small. So I'm not so happy. And when I don't recognize the pattern, I just leave it. Okay, so there is many others of them which has a much more clearer patterns. But for me, this is still a kind of enigmatic what's going on here. Okay. Okay, guys, let me see. Torchain. No, okay. So let's look Torchain, and then we will finish this crypto lab. Let's see Torchain. Torchain is Rune. Yeah, it is. I don't know if this is the whole chart, but let's look what's going on daily. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna put a couple of things that maybe might be happening here. So if this is some type of a kind of a compressing volatility pattern, so then we have a pullback and an ABC x ABC. So let's see what's going on here on a smaller time frame. So that I'm gonna do this for the next couple of weeks. So I'm not gonna go much in time because we don't know if this rally will be sustainable. So this is still need to be proved. So on a smaller time frame, so we still have here potentially, let me just see what's going on here. 1 2 3 4 5. So we start from here in a 1 2, so then we have another 1 2 3 4 and 5. So we can say that we have some type of a 5-wave move. There is no overlap. This is a little bit tricky. It's not very nice. As you can see, there is no, I mean, very clear subdivisions. You can go here wave 1, 2, up in 3, 4, and small wave 5. I'm not very happy to do that, but in this case, with the small volumes, probably you will have to. Okay. So in that respect, maybe this is a 5-wave move. So if you look this move down and as an A, up in B and down in C, so support might be, the next support might be here. So yeah, okay guys, so yeah, that will be it for this edition of the Crypto Lab with Alex. I hope our outlook, our macro, and we have been running this from 2021, and if you go back and forth, we must say trading analysis, we are pretty satisfied how we combine this macro outlook. At 2021 nobody was even looking macro, not even a famous hedge fund guys. From the crypto perspective, everything was tied into cryptos, and we followed pretty nicely all of this, what's going on in the last couple of years. So if you want to see what we do, if you want to join us, please visit Trading Analysis. There is a trial. We have a nice crypto community, members webinars. We do chart requests for all our clients, so you can be served and having every chart on cryptos that you like, which is one of our... okay, so we had a small disconnection, I think. I think we had a small disconnection, was an internet bug, I think. Yeah, I see what you mean. It was not Torchain, it was another similar. I don't follow this, so I apologize. So let me go back to a Torchain chart for you. So in that case, it will be something more similar because we are in some type of a wave 3, wave 4 and wave 5. So wave count invalidation will be here. So you don't want to see that this actually without the 5-wave move actually falls before we make 5 waves, falls below this red line. Okay, in that case, this will be just a 3-wave move and then we're going to continue lower. So you can track it and see how it behaves. And then when you see a 5-wave movement on the upside, then you can actually confirm that after a pullback, you might see another move on the upside at least. So okay guys, so thank you very much for being with us. So see you next week, same place, Crypto Lab with Alex, and click the like button and subscribe, and see you next week guys. Bye bye.